You're here at the Old Vic Tunnels underneath Waterloo train station. If you hear some rumblings tonight, that'll be the trains heading out across West London and beyond. We're at the art show Bedlam, which has been curated by Steve LAZARIDES, who's a gallerist who became most famous for his work with the street artist Banksy. He's very famous for the art shows that he's done, which has included a big art show in Los Angeles where an elephant, an Indian elephant, was taken into the gallery, and the side of that elephant was painted in such a way that it blended into the scenery, almost like the elephant in the room. That show was a huge success and really helped catapult Banksy into the world stardom, and it also helped Steve LAZARIDES building up his collection in his galleries. This evening's show is based on the Bedlam, the mental asylum. There were two buildings in the South Bank. The South Bank, which we find ourselves in now, is a marshy, muddy south of the river as London was developing, and there was an Old Vic theatre, and there was this mental asylum, the two grand buildings. And on a Sunday you would be able to pay a penny to go and see these mad people perform their tricks inside the mad home. And you could also go and you could see theatre performances in the Old Vic Theatre. And somehow Steve tonight has managed to combine all of that theatre and all of that kind of drama, and he's put that into an art show. We can hear a little bit more about that from him now. I interviewed him earlier. You join us here now with the curator of the show, Steve LAZARIDES. Steve, can you start by telling us a little bit about the inspiration behind this year's show?
I think it was meeting you, Hamish, and realising you were totally mad, so we decided to do Bedlam in there.
No. Interestingly, we did have a moment where both you and I were walking down the Charing Cross Road, and we saw in a bookstore a book about madness and Bedlam. You remember that?
We planned it before that. The three shows were planned when the first one, when the idea for the first one came up, the idea for all three came out.
So can you talk to us about that journey, Steve? Three different art shows, they've all had various different things about them.
Because of the space itself, it lends itself to dark and dank themes. So the first year was based on Dante's Inferno. It's underground and it worked within the confines of the space.
And one of my favourite pieces in that was actually a piece that wasn't by an artist. It was by the curator himself. So as you entered into the exhibition, there was a pit bull or a staffy or something like that,
but it was a
barking viciously. And in order to enter the exhibition, you had to weave your way through it. So
only because you lot wouldn't let me have a bunch of kids with pit bulls stood at. The idea was to have a line of kids with pit bulls either side of the entrance. So you had to walk a gauntlet of barking dogs to come into the show.
So that was very much the first, Dante's Inferno, the idea of going into hell. And then in year two, what was the inspiration behind that?
My son, actually, with the Minotaur. I'd been reading the Minotaur a lot to one of the kids, and it came out of that, really. And again, it was something, themes of deceit, death, betrayal, all seemed to fit in the tunnel again, Hamish.
It was quite an exceptional production last year. I think it ran for almost 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Inside that, you worked with Preta Dine. You built a pop-up kitchen. Madonna visited the show. What were the sort of highs of last year?
Finishing.
Yeah.
Last year was like the show last year was great. It was a long haul, trying to do things that we'd never done before, like working with the restaurant. It was a hard show to pull off. I think it looked great. I think this year's is even better. It's just as well because it's the final year and we want to make it as good a show as humanly possible. You represent certain artists, but when it comes to these shows, you do always widen the net a little bit, and you choose to work with artists that are maybe not on the books of the LAZARIDES gallery. Yeah. This year, that's happened again. Can you talk to us about maybe some of the artists you work with? Well, this year we're bringing in Doug Foster again for the third year, just because Doug's always done amazing installation pieces to go within the space. We brought Atma back that we had last year. New arts we have in this year, Artists Anonymous and Tina Sang. Karim's in this year, Tessa Farmer, Jane Fradgley, War Boutique. We brought quite a lot of new people in as well. It's working. There's only a few people from like the general Lazarides stable that are actually here.
You would definitely be classed as one of the hot, young, and exciting gallerists of the moment. What is it that you look for in an artist? What is it in their work that speaks to you?
There's a million great artists out there, and only so many of them kind of prick your imagination, I think, to be able to work that you want to work with. I think for here it's a slightly different criteria to normal, because things need to fit within the confines of the tunnels to be able to create a show. In general, if I like it, it goes in. It's hard to say much more than that.
Now, this is maybe, I'm going to get in a little bit of trouble here, but I'm a huge fan of you, and I've always championed your work. Predominantly because I think we've reached a point where, as a young person and deeply interested in art, I'm tired of white cubes, of Charles Saatchi galleries or Larry Gagosian shows. Your ability to create something that's so much more theatrical, I find really inspiring.
Well, I think it's the antithesis to flogging art out of a white tent in a park. I think it's about bringing the general public in as well, because the general public have a vast capacity, A for darkness and B for art.
And what's the next stop for you, personally?
Bed.
Bed after bed.
Yeah.
There you go. So that's a moment with Steve Lazarides, owner of the Lazarides Gallery and curator of this evening's show. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Cool, got it. I'm now here with Michael Najjar. Michael, this is your second year as part of the Lazarides show. What does Bethlehem mean to you?
Well, when I first heard the concept of Bethlehem and Victoria explained me that, I was of course not aware of the historical background of that institution here in London. So I did some research, and when I learned a little bit about the history and what this institution meant, then I came up with the idea to offer to Steve also the pieces that I have here, the Sublime Brain and the Nexus Project portraits, because they deal with transformation and controlling of somebody's mind. So it's all about how we can go into one's brain and maybe control the neural process of somebody. So that's the reference point to the Bethlehem concept.
Brilliant. And you're going to learn a little bit more about Michael Najjar. He's going to be the first artist who's ever visited space. I'm going to do a little interview with you later that we'll play on the TV. Thank you very much for spending a little time with me, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Certainly the next artist that we are going to interview, his home is in Paris, and he's a performance artist. So if you go onto his website and you have a look at his work, you'll see a lot of video installation artwork, work where he's worked with actresses. And the piece that he has in this show is actually a video piece with two different screens that project looking at each other. And you as a viewer can step in between these two screens, and by stepping in between these two screens you become part of this dual dialogue that's going on around you. And it's a performance by a very elderly lady, a legend in the dance community in Paris, who he filmed to create this work. And so I think it's very appropriate in this kind of theatrical setting that we should have an artist that works with choreography as part of his repertoire. So we'll cut now to Karim. Cool. You're here at the Old Vic Tunnels with Karim. Karim, can you tell us a little bit about the work that's behind us?
Yeah, well, it's part of the exhibition Bedlam, and I wanted to find the chaotic side inside of me, so it starts with a division. On one screen you've got this face saying, I love you, I love you, I love you, and on the other one you've got the same character shooting and pointing at you. So I don't know if I'm really clear, but it creates a chaotic space in the middle where you need to choose your sides, basically.
And does that have any particular reference to your personal life?
Yes. It has actually. I think the chaotic side inside of me came from the divorce of my parents, so it started there. But it took me 20 years to figure out.
When I see some of your work, I do get this sense of performance. In a lot of your work, you're a cameraman, so there is a theatre, there is a sense of performance in many of the pieces. And I always think that Steve's shows are like a theatrical event as well as an art show. Does that speak to you as an artist, to be a part of that?
A lot, actually. I've done dance films for a long time, for maybe 20 years. So I've been shooting dance and doing video installations for the stage as well. So, of course, when I see the dramatic setting of this place, it talks to me.
Was there any other work here that's caught your eye?
All of them, actually. But that's what I liked about the concept of this show, is everyone was allowed to go in every direction without any barriers.
I think Steve has been very good at championing young talent, young, fresh artists. What would you say to young artists is the biggest kind of skill set that they need to make it as an artist? You're someone who's been practicing that form for 20 years now.
I would say never take no for an answer and try to meet people like Steve, which are very rare in the art world.
Cool. Well, Karim, thank you very much for talking with me today, and thank you for being a part of this group show.
Okay,
great.
Thank you.
I've been joined by Ed Bartlett of the gallery Future Tense. Ed, you've just got off a plane. You've been in Dallas, Texas, where you were working on the MTV Staying Alive Foundation. That's an art project. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, it's a charity foundation. They AIDS and HIV. It's run by MTV, obviously. Last year we started a new thing with them, which is raising money for their charity through selling art. And we had 30 artists it was actually the 30th anniversary of AIDS last year. So we had 30 artists, one for each year. Everyone from Damien Hirst, Tracy Emin, Shepard Fairey, who's here actually, I just said hello to him. And we raised...
No, actually, we tried to grab him and tried to have an interview with him.
He may come back. He's going to look at the show a little bit more, so he feels a bit more comfortable about talking about it. But
that seems fair enough to me. So why did MTV come to you? Why did they ask for your help?
So we do things a bit differently. I mean, not dissimilar to Steve. We're a gallery-less gallery. I mean, obviously he has galleries, but he also does shows like this at Your Great Establishment, where it's trying to take things out of the gallery and make it more of theatre, more of a show, a bit more engaging for people beyond a white cube space. And that's also what we do. And they just like their energy and want to do something a bit different. So yeah.
Cool. That's true. Ed did an amazing show at the Old Vic Tunnels. He had a young artist called Joe Loughborough who came in and took over 2 vaults, really, in one piece. He left up for weeks and allowed it to kind of ferment in the space. He also did a long life drawing art session. Brilliant show.
Thank you.
What was it like working in this space?
Oh, it's great. I mean, it suits this kind of show perfectly. Joe's work it's kind of similar to Anthony Mikolev's in a way. It's very dark and quite edgy. And I think, to show that kind of work in a white cube space, it works, but I think this lends it a little bit of an edge that kind of engages people a bit more.
What do you think of Anthony Mikolev?
I think he's a fantastic artist. I'm lucky enough to own one of his pieces, and it's definitely one of the stars in my collection. And obviously he's a portrait award winner, and he has a very interesting following in that the kind of street art people like him, but also contemporary people love his work as well. So he's able to kind of straddle both ends of the market.
That's right. He's one of the few that's sort of been accepted by the RA. They did a wonderful sculpture display of his work, which was fantastic.
And his is my favourite piece here tonight as well, I have to say. Yeah.
Is that right? Anything else that stood out for you, or was it just the Anthony Mikolev?
To be fair, I've only managed to do half the show so far. I've been sort of stopped every 5 yards we've gone to see people, so we're going to go grab a beer and have a look around.
I actually caught up and had a word with Anthony Mikolev earlier today, and so maybe we could cut to that where I talked to him in brief. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me, Ed. Really good to catch up. Thanks, man.
I think what makes this place particularly special and the show special is that there's no other place, I think, like the Old Vic Tunnels to show work in, just because I think it has such an atmosphere. The work suits the space suits the work, so everything kind of breathes together, and you sense that as soon as you come in. So you're assaulted by the power of the space and by the work, and then the lighting, and the sounds. you know, this place, I think you always remember this place when you come to it. I mean, it's funny working with galleries, but, you know, it's all about a trust thing, and it's about finding someone who has the same vision as you and wanting to go, you know, in the same direction. But I've been showing with the Laz Gallery for 7 years now. This is my piece, Bestial Descent. It's a piece, it's half animal, half human, I guess. It's a piece which I wanted to be very dark, but at the same time, I wanted it to be beautiful to look at as well. And I like that kind of cross-pollination of mixing different subject matter and styles. It's one of my favourite pieces. I've got 2 pieces in the main part of the show. One piece is called Monarch, and the other piece is called Bloodhead.
What do we have to look forward to? I presume you must be producing another body of work for a solo show. Do you know when that might be?
Well, I always like around, you know, a year to make a body of work. I like to be able to make the work and edit it. It's really nice when you have pieces around the studio. I mean, time is a weird thing. It's like almost has to ferment like wine. You know, you don't see something wrong with it in the beginning, but, you know, 6 months on, for some reason, it would just say, you know, you need to do this to me. So I'm building up a body of work. I kind of feel, you know, I need to. I really want to hone down on my craft and play with paint. So I'm looking forward to that.
And you've been part of these shows with Lazarides for the last 3 years. You've got to know different artists that have come and gone, artists that are not necessarily represented by Lazarides because he wanted to work with them in a particular show. Is there anything that's inspiring you in this show?
Well, I love Doug Foster's work. I just think, I mean, he's just built for the tunnels. The eye piece, when I walked into the room and saw it, you know, you just think, God, wow. I mean, you know, it's like Big Brother is there, and, you know, it's like this paranoia is there. It fits the show perfectly. I mean, it's just brilliant video work.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Anthony, thank you very much for spending some time with us, and we wish you all the best and look forward to your future shows.
Thank you.
We're back. We've got Anthony with us. Anthony, you've had a chance to see the whole show now. It's starting to fill up. The beers are flowing. How does the whole show feel?
Well, I think it's actually flowing incredibly well. I think all the lighting is coming into effect now. All the rooms are now making sense. You go from room to room. You can read the rooms. You can see the work properly now from being here earlier. And, you know, big crowd of people.
There certainly is. There's like a massive queue of people trying to get in the building at the moment, and guest lists are going crazy. You almost got stopped, had trouble getting in, but you got a +1.
I got in. I'm one of the artists, so I got in.
Just.
Eventually, just. But I guess, you know, it adds to the excitement of your own show and being nervous beforehand.
Good. But, and who do you invite to these things? Do mum and dad, do they get invited to the RA? But mum and
not so much here, just because you know, drink a few beers and stuff. But a lot of my very, very close friends are here. I like having my close friends here because it's good to have a kind of a personal shield, and, you know, and just to hang out with people and, you know, meet other people. So.
Definitely. Well, I won't take up any more of your time. You get on and enjoy it.
Good to see you.
And you.
Cool. Take care.
Cool.
Thank you.
Now, Steve Lazarides is obviously he is the name of the gallery, but it takes an incredible and dedicated team for Laz to be able to pull off the kind of work that he does. Victoria, who is always hands on the ground under here for a whole week without sleep, it seems, preparing for these shows. Chris, who works in the galleries, and we've also got another director of the gallery who worked in Sotheby's. He worked in Sotheby's for many years until he found himself a bit bored in that kind of auction house system. And so he started work for Lazarides, and I think he's been there for about 5 years now. And we can hear a little bit from him when I spoke to him earlier today.
Okay, I'm here with Rafe Taylor, one of the directors of the Lazarides galleries, to talk about the show Bedlam. Rafe, welcome.
Thank you, Hamish. Good to see you.
So tell us a little bit about this show and what it means to you this year.
This show is the third in the trilogy. It was important for us using a space like the Old Vic Tunnels to consistently up our game without compromising on the brief. And so we'd had Dante's Inferno and House Alphaca, we'd had the Minotaur and the labyrinthine structure, and then this time we thought we'd take it conceptually to a new level by reflecting Bedlam, the hospital that was located nearby, but more as an idea rather than the thing itself. So that concept of Bedlam and its many different incarnations. So the brief has been interpreted incredibly broadly by the selection of, I think, 20 artists, and it's a great show.
Perhaps you're more qualified than most to talk about the difference between, say, Sotheby's, which has been around forever and is such a cultural institution within the art scene, and Lazarides Gallery, which is so fresh and new and does things so differently.
The cultural shock between the two was life-changing. It was extraordinary. Obviously, working at Sotheby's, I was there for a few years, and it is a progressive company because the contemporary department needs to stay relevant and fresh. And so I suppose there, as opposed to everywhere else in the company, it was closer to what we have at Lazarides, but it's a secondary market. They're reselling, they've got to make money, they're listed on the stock exchange. Lazarides is right on the cutting edge. It's on the coalface of contemporary art movement. We need to change every day. You know, things change every month. Our calendar of shows grows organically from day to day, whereas obviously in a more established business, you can't have that flexibility. You know, to the very point that we're sitting in what used to be Victorian drainage tunnels with trains running overhead, which you can probably hear during my answers. And that's not something that you have anywhere like the level of flexibility to do in a big cultural institution. You know, we can do whatever we want quickly, whereas, you know, obviously turning circle on a big place like Sotheby's is vast.
As a young director of the coolest gallery around at the moment, what is it that you look for in young artists that are out there and maybe hoping that they could be in a future Lazarides group show?
We look for people who are ploughing a furrow that they totally believe in, something that they can really justify their self-label as an artist. You know, you get a lot of people who are being different for the sake of it. I don't see that as being a productive or positive way. You know, I want to see an artist who is technically brilliant. We have such a bias towards people who are sort of technical virtuosos, either with film or with paint. You know, if they then want to go abstract, that's fine. But that's someone who is, and this sounds a little bit over the top, but I say it anyway, someone who is articulating the experience of being alive in 2012 on behalf of their generation. I'm the most terrible artist in the world. I can't do it. Therefore, it is your job as an artist, Hamish, to do something beautiful or provocative or evocative on my behalf. That's what we're looking for. And that's kind of 1 in a million. So occasionally you get lucky and you pick up on someone like JR, and occasionally you don't.
Thank you for spending some time with us.
Pleasure.
And thank you for being a part of this great show.
Pleasure.
Cool.
Now with me I've got Izzy Lawrence. Izzy, you're a DJ?
Yeah, I'm a DJ.
What brings you down to an art show?
Well, it's my friend Kelly that said, come down to the tunnels and come and check out some art. And I thought, why not? A little bit of culture. And so I've come down to check out some mice hanging from the ceiling and some paintings in a cinema theatre.
So that was the Tessa Farmer piece. You like that,
Yeah,
did you?
I did. Actually, I was a bit freaked out. I've had many sort of queuing for one in, one out, and it's never been from mice hanging from a ceiling. But it was worth it, worth the wait. You know?
With little creatures crawling off.
I know, it was
as
quite
well.
freaky. I was a bit worried that it would get stuck in my hair or my brolly or something.
What work stuck out to you?
I would say the piece that was that's in the cinema. I love that. There's 2 paintings, and I think someone was saying that a graffiti artist, and then it turned into a sort of...
Yeah, so that's Connor Harrington, that's right.
He's amazing. So cool. And yeah, I sat there and we had a nice little beverage and a chat, and it was a bit like, yeah, it was good to sit back and watch an art piece. You never do that.
I like the way Steve has done that. One of the things that he's done with this art show is to bring a bit of theatre into the kind of business of selling art. And so by placing them in front of a beautiful kind of velvet seat theatre, he's again letting the artworks be like a performance piece in themselves. And I think, like you say, you've appreciated that. I think everyone will as they come through.
I really enjoyed it because you rarely go and look at a painting, sit down, have a cocktail and sort of take it in the same way that you take in another piece of art, like a film or something, or a piece of theatre. So it was good.
And you're going to be back here? aren't you? Why is that?
Yeah, going to be back for a bit of zombie action over Halloween, DJing on the Friday night. So yeah, I think it will be fun.
Excellent. Cool.
Come down.
Well, thank you for talking to me. We look forward to seeing you at Halloween.
Okay, cool.
All right.
See you then.
Cool. Now let's have a talk to one of the artists who's exhibited it in the last couple of years. Atmar, if you'd like to join me.
Hello, Hamish. How are you?
I'm very well.
Excellent.
I think you should stand that side though, because then I'll be slightly bigger that way. So you had one of the most photographed pieces of the show last year. You really decided to take on the image of the Minotaur, and you built a Minotaur, but a Minotaur on a cross. It was a very powerful work. Talk to us about what it was like to be in that group show.
It was absolutely a fantastic show, to say. Beautiful theme, and what I tried to do was to play with the icon of the cross, which is something that everybody can relate to, and add this LAZARIDES twist to it, which was like full of nails, with like sick as that, and like almost painful to look at. And I think everybody was definitely having a connection with the piece, and when they start to come closer and closer, they start to feel what I wanted them to feel, which was a complete shock, because obviously we're not used to see a cross made out of like really thick nails, and yet this is exactly the story of Jesus Christ. So I tried to express this twist through this piece.
Well, I think you did it brilliantly, and it was definitely one of the most photographed pieces of the show last year. What is it like to be part of a group show?
Well, mainly it's an amazing experience, because you do get to share with outstanding artists during this whole process. Like, we spend about 1 week at least work on site, and as you can feel here, it's pretty damp, and so it affects everybody when we work like really hard for like 7 days. And
how much of an effect do you think this environment plays on the show? How would this work, this show in a white cube gallery, do you think?
I don't think that will work. I think it's all about the actual setting, and the setting make people feel coming to a new world. I think this is all about the Old Vic Tunnels, like people come to discover a new dimension, and that maybe they have not experimented or not tried yet, and as soon as they feel it, like the fact that it's like a massive vault, and there is probably lots of history behind that, which was forgotten for long years. It makes people feel uncomfortable, comfortable, out of the way. It just make people feel bizarre, and I love that.
Well, we've got sponsors for the show this year, HTC, and you very much worked with HTC. Can you tell us the title of the work that you've produced this year, and what was the inspiration, quickly?
Absolutely. The piece is called Bedlam Art, and it's actually about the syndrome that new technology, digital technology, has brought to human being living. So I was very lucky to get about 200 phones.
They were HTC phones, by the way?
There was, 200 HTC phones.
I'm sure Atmar destroyed them. Did you destroy them?
I destroyed them. I actually just kept the front of them, because this is the face of the whole story, and I put them on a giant heart, which is now pumping with LED lights, and there is a sound installation as well that tries to highlight the fact that we are a little bit lost in this new world.
I have to say, I have put the headphone installation on. I have been next to the beating heart, looking on Doug Foster's crazy eye, and it is a pretty wild sensation. Atmar, thank you very much. Get to the bar, have a drink, enjoy the rest of the show, and I'll see you a little bit later.
Bye.
Cool. Yeah, one of the great things about Atmar's piece is to have these headphones on, see this beating heart, and then as you turn round and you still got the sound effect of Atmar's piece, you can see Doug Foster's amazing rotating eye. We'll hear a little bit from Doug Foster now.
Doug?
Yes.
Thank you very much for taking a moment to talk to us. You have been in every single LAZARIDES show, and you've played a very crucial part. Can you tell us a little bit about your work first to begin with?
The work that has been down here at the tunnels has mainly been projection pieces, like little pools of light in the darkness, which have been very influenced by symmetry, and they've tried to create little sanctuaries of calm and meditation, I suppose. And I think that maybe the piece this year is the ultimate sort of evolution of that. And now it's a piece where you actually lie down and struggle to stay awake.
Perhaps you could tell us about your other work in this show, which is really on the money. This is a giant eyeball that dominates one tunnel.
Yeah, a giant, fearful eye. And that I've made in collaboration with a Bulgarian neuroscientist stroke artist called Najjar. He creates his own works, but he also does lots of experiments on people and neurological experiments. And he had his hands on a scanning device which looks at irises. It's to look for problems with the eye, but it produces this massive magnified image of an iris. So he came to me, because I've done video pieces, to talk to me about how to collaborate and make a video piece from that, because he had this vision of a big giant eyeball hanging in a tunnel, which I think everyone was attracted to. I mean, it's such a simple idea, but it just seems to fit. It's a big, fearful eyeball. So basically, I went along and lit it and put my camera on the machine and
was that the first time you've collaborated with another artist like that?
Yes, I think it is.
And how was that process?
It was easy because he's coming from a completely different angle, so we weren't clashing. It was almost like I was doing the lighting, photography, and making it look good. He had the original idea in the first place, and he had techniques for making the eye move, like where the pupil is contracting and dilating. He was using a little light in the other eye to make that work, which is quite clever. And also, he made the iris actually rotate by putting cold water into his girlfriend, who was the subject, into her ear.
So there's a bit of torture in there as well.
Yeah, because it makes you, putting water in your ear makes you go off balance, and your eye tries to find the level, so your eye starts pulsing and rotating, which is quite weird.
One of the challenges I think you face as an artist, perhaps, is that your work is so awe-inspiring, but it is on such a large scale that there is this sort of process where you might be collected by big collectors before you're into a museum, and whereas your work kind of calls out for a whole wing of a museum, so that it has that kind of scalability. So how can you find other ways of letting this work be seen?
I am working on a smaller scale, sort of framed version of this particular piece and other pieces, a more sort of domestic scale version. But it's different. I mean, it's almost, it's complementary to the piece, but it's not. You can't really recreate the experience of something on that sort of scale in this kind of space in someone's home. So you can only really hint at it and try to do something which reminds you of the experience and maybe has some integrity of its own as well. So that's what I'm trying to do.
I hope I don't embarrass you if I say that most other artists say that your work is their personal favourite. Doug, thank you very much for spending some time chatting with us about your work.
It's a pleasure.
We look forward to seeing more of it in the future, and hopefully on a very big and grand scale.
Well, thanks very much. That's great. Cheers.
No problem.
All right, we're back live in the Old Vic Tunnels. I've got Remy with me. Remy, I think I first met you in 2005, and you were the first person I met from the LAZARIDES gallery.
I think so,
you were
yes.
working there at the time. Why was that?
That's right. Well, Steve and I just finished doing another one of those crazy Santa's Ghettos, which, I mean, you know, you
so
can
for those that don't know, Steve has done these crazy shows all over the place. He's been involved in shows in Bethlehem, in Palestine, and these Santa's Grottos, what are they?
They're like a Christmas pop-up show that allowed the artist to sort of make some money around that that time of season. So the idea was that you just, you rent a space, whatever it is, preferably not an art gallery and no white walls, which is Steve's the kind of edicts. That's the way he sort of arranges his aesthetics. And you invite a bunch of artists and everyone does a kind of Christmas show. So we just finished doing that, and he told me that he'd just got hold of this old sex shop that had become empty because everything had gone online. So we saw a niche, and he went for it. And that was the first Laz Gallery.
So the first Laz gallery was actually in an old sex shop.
Old sex shop, so people would come for sort of for DVDs and end up walking away with art, which is a bit weird. But it was mainly because there's a few properties around in Soho, and he really liked the area, and he said we sort of finished the last day of Santa's Ghetto and about split up for Christmas, and he said, "Oh, do you want to come back in January and work for me at this art gallery in a sex shop?" And I thought, art gallery, sex shop, that's quite a lot of my favourite words in the same sentence.
Brilliant. And so, what do you make of this group show? You've been to the last three: Hell's Half-Acre, the Minotaur. What was? How does this one compare?
This one is it's sort of, it feels a bit stiller. Oh, there's a man himself. It feels a bit stiller.
Wait, come back. Come back. There we go. So, Steve, opening night of your show, Bedlam. We are live. Please don't swear, as Davina McCall might say.
I try not to.
How's the opening going for you?
It's been great so far. It's none of the problems that we've had in the other years.
Brilliant.
Although I haven't been outside.
I hear the queue on the guest list and on the VIP list is astronomical.
The only person you will understand this is you. That person you invited turned up and just said hello to me.
Fair enough. That's code for something I don't want to get into.
Yes. So I'm going to leave you two to it. It's been great.
All right, good.
All right, there's people here now having a good time. Thanks, Ray.
Well done, congratulations. It's a fantastic show.
Really good. I'll see you in 5.
So, you're still involved in the art scene. What is it that you're up to now?
Well, I've just actually finished making, I just finished touring with Bobby Womack, actually. And I'm going to be around this week just to maybe program a couple of music events during the week. Going to have a chat with Steve about that. But I'm going to go back to put my music hat on very soon because we've got Q Awards and all sorts of things. And I'm on tour.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for spending a little time with me.
Thank you.
Always good to see you.
Pleasure.
Thanks,
Pleasure.
buddy.
Enjoy. Come and see the show. It's incredible.
Okay, I think we can cut to, who else have we got? We've got Michael Najjar. Let's cut to Michael Najjar. I chatted to him earlier. I first knew his work from TED. You can find out why.
Okay, we're here now in the screening room with artist Michael Najjar. Michael, welcome to the Tunnels.
Thank you.
Second year for you. Good to be back.
Absolutely. I think it's a very exciting location, and I'm very happy to be once again part of the show.
Could you perhaps speak to us a little bit about the pieces that you have in the show this year?
2 pieces, 2 portraits are from an older series from 1999-2000. It's called the Nexus Project Part 1. And that portrait series refers to the neural implant of chips into the brain structure. And the other piece that I brought, what is called the Sublime Brain, is from the series Bionic Angel, what is from 2008, and refers to the idea of brain-to-brain communication, so direct connection between 2 neural structures of 2 human beings.
And the composition of that artwork is actually made up of those neural pathways and those connections, and that's what's created your image. Is that right?
Yeah, correctly. We sent 2 humans for a very special brain scan. And from the brain scan, what we got was a huge amount of data, voxels. And these voxels referred to the neural pathways, the fiber tracks into one's brain. And then with special software, we transformed this data into a 3D visualization of the brain's fiber tracks.
You need only to look at your website, which I hope people will go and check out. But there's a very space-age theme to that.
Yeah.
And you will also be, hopefully in 2014, I believe, you'll be the first artist to go and visit space. Is that right?
Yeah. That's correct. I'm very much interested always in my artistic work about the influence between art and technology. So how new emerging technologies are influencing our way of living, our way of working, and how we will live in the future when these technologies are going to develop in a certain acceleration.
Well, I first became aware of your work when I saw it referenced in a TED talk by a young guy called Kevin Slavin, where he was talking about algorithms and how they shape our world. Perhaps you could talk to us about that for a moment?
Yeah, Kevin contacted me last year, and he asked for some work, some pictures to illustrate his TED Talk that he gave on how algorithms shape our world. And the work was chosen for my series, for my last series called High Altitude, and this series was dedicated to the development of the financial markets due to the fact that they're today totally driven and controlled by information and computer technologies. So they're all based on what they call algo trading. And
do you see a dystopian future for where all artwork is controlled by algorithm artwork?
That's a good question.
Paintings?
Well, I do not hope so that the algorithm will overtake the work of the artists, but we work quite often with algorithms. We use them to produce artistic work and artistic expressions.
All right, well, Michael, thank you very much for spending some time chatting to me.
Pleasure.
Cool. Look forward to seeing you tonight.
Thank you.
I'm now joined by Karim and Diana. Diana, I'm very sorry, Diana. You, I have to say, you look the part, very appropriate for an art evening. You've got the beret. You are the performer in the piece that Karim has created. What was it like working with Karim?
I don't want to talk about myself.
Well, what was it like working with Karim?
Well, I love Karim, and it's easy working with him.
We love each other.
Yeah, it's easy working with him. And basically, I met him from friends because in 1989 for the Bicentenaire in Paris, France, France, I danced along the Champs-Élysées with a French company, and those friends brought me together with Karim, and we've been friends ever since, really.
What an extraordinary story. And how was it to work with Diana? Were you able to direct her?
It was pure pleasure. I've been meaning to do something with her for such a long time, but so it was the occasion. When Steve told me about the project, I just talked to it her nickname is Pussy. Yes. So I talked to Pussy, I told her about the project, and she said, I'm very Bedlam-esque, and that's right.
What does being very Bedlam-esque mean you have to do?
Well, you try not to be too degraded into the Bedlam life, and rise above it and find the beauty in it, in madness.
To me, that sounds absolutely brilliant, actually, and really, I can definitely take that idea of living in modern London, where there does seem to be such a level of chaos. You know, the amount of emails we get every day, the phone calls, the text messages, and out of all this bedlam, this chaos, this craziness, we do need to stop, take a moment, and find time to appreciate art, and it can be hidden away in a dark corner somewhere. In a show like this evening. So thank you very much for your kind words and sharing some time with me this evening. Karim, we talked to you earlier. Yeah. Thank you again for stopping by. Enjoy the rest of the show. Really fantastic to spend a moment with you now. Now, we can throw to one of the coolest and most exciting street artists I think we have in this collection at the moment. It's the first time that he's been part of a LAZARIDES group show. He's got a solo show coming up at the Rathbone Gallery later this year or early next year. His name is Dan Witz, and he has been doing street art since the very early 70s. So he's been doing it way before anyone else, before Banksy, before all of these guys came along. And so he's not really been affected by what's happened between graphers and street artists and all of this. He has just consistently been producing phenomenal street art. And the reason he's done that is because he cares passionately about providing people with those unique moments, that 1 in 1,000 that takes a moment to stop in London's busy city streets, as Diana was telling us, and looks down a dark corner of an alley, and there finds a street artist who's painted something absolutely brilliant, and they were the only ones that stopped and found the time to see it. So when we go to the next one, think about Diana and what she says about living in this crazy modern city. Dan Witz, people.
You're an artist that's been involved in the street art, public art area or sphere for a long, long time. Can you talk to us about, as an artist, how that experience of working in the public domain and then seeing this explosion has affected you and the way you approach your work?
Well, I started doing street art in the late 1970s in New York when I was just out of art school. So, and I've been doing it consistently since then. And up until around, I think around 2000, 2002, I felt like I was the only guy out there doing it. And it was something I loved to do, something I enjoyed, but it certainly wasn't a career move, or people actually, I think, looked down on me for doing such a thing. Like I was some kind of loser.
Do you think art historians will be looking at your body of work and how early you did it and saying maybe you were one of the forefronts?
Well, maybe, who knows. I think the reason I kept doing it, though, while it wasn't fun, while it wasn't popular, is just because it's so fun and so free, and I enjoy it so much. And I pretty much, by the time it started breaking and everyone started, you know, paying all this attention to it, I was so into my process of doing it that way that I still just do what I like to do, what's fun.
So let's talk about King Baby maybe, and one of the pieces that we'll see in this show.
The King Baby character is, before my wife and I had our first kid, I kind of created this guy. It's me wearing a diaper, all painted white, and I have no hair. You know, this
looks a little bit crazy.
Yeah, yeah, and it's actually really appropriate for Bedlam because it's like some crazy guy behind a grate, and so I made my usual sort of trompe-l'oeil situations and put myself in all these situations like I've been asking all my models to do all these years. So I've been making people do strange things behind grates, so now I'm doing it too.
But they look fantastic and they do work incredibly well with the space.
So, you know, basically what I start with is, like, I'm the type of artist who thinks that art should shock people out of their passivity. Like, that's my job, is to be a bit of a menace, sort of like Artists Anonymous, you know, not so likable, not so friendly, make people uncomfortable. So I take what I call dark doings situations and put them in plain view out in public, but I put them behind grates and something you'd expect to see there, so people walk right by them and don't see them, which is the perfect scenario for me. And I do, like, since I've been in London, I've done maybe 10 pieces on the street already, and they're all still up, so they've been up for a week, and they're all around Waterloo Station. That's all I'll tell you.
Okay, so watch this space. There are artworks up around Waterloo train station.
And there are things that relate to the Bedlam characters.
Dan, thank you very much for spending some time with us.
Pleasure.
Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Okay, so Steve Lazarides, the curator of Bedlam, is back. This time I can actually have a little word with him. Steve, you've opened the show. How does it feel?
Feels great. It's packed. Wouldn't have happened without all the great work from the artists. The team have been great. My team at Lazarides have worked their ass off all week. So we've had Victoria, Rafe, Yvette. I'm bound to miss someone out. Michael Smythe, Laura, Emily, Tom, Al.
It's a big team.
Yeah,
This is sounding like an Oscar speech
it's
now.
a big team. Yeah, but they worked hard. They deserve their thanks.
And so last year, I think there was a £5 booking fee to come in.
There was, yeah.
And you weren't very happy about that. This year, you've decided to go with a sponsor, and you've made the show completely free. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, this year we worked with the HTC, and there's a lot of technology based in the show this year. So it didn't seem like a jarring fit. So they came in, and we've worked with them. They've helped us with the show, and this year that's meant that we don't need to charge people to come in, which for me makes me a very happy man. Also means that this time next year I don't go broke, which makes me a very happy man at the end of the day.
But I always say that Steve puts on these incredible shows, but people come in, and as they walk through the art show, they're kind of lost in this crazy world, so they don't really think of it as a buying commercial show. You've put in an exit through the gift shop this time, Steve.
I have indeed put in exit through the gift shop. It makes me happy.
So people can buy copies of your book, The Outsiders. That's sold well for you, hasn't it?
They can buy the book, there's screen prints, there's all sorts of stuff.
Good. Okay, so that's Steve Lazarides. Thank you very much. Wonderful, wonderful show. I think you've outdone yourself. It's my favourite of the year.
The third year. Thank you.
Cool. Okay. Steve has just had a show from a German group of artists called Artists Anonymous. It is what is it? Rathbone Place Gallery. Artists Anonymous, I spoke to them earlier, they create the entrance to this show. We'll see them now.
So you are a group of artists, Artists Anonymous. How does that creative process tend to work?
I think the picture is quite obvious, like shutting up, me talking. It's like, yeah, what else to say? I mean, it's about, I mean, obviously the fancy dress and the masks is like a joke. Because it's not about us staying anonymous, it's about the work staying anonymous. So it's about not knowing exactly who did this kind of piece or who painted the painting. That gives you the freedom to actually objectively and soberly look at a piece of art without having anything in mind of it's a young woman or an old man who painted it or is like an educated person or whatever. Like all this is like not there because you don't know.
You've just done a very successful solo show at the LAZARIDES gallery. How does that compare to working in a big group show in a 29,000 square foot underground tunnel, to say that much more specific solo show that you did?
The difference is not so much about the solo or the group show, is more about the approach to what kind of show it's gonna be. So the solo at LAZARIDES galleries obviously was like focusing on painting. So the whole preparation for the show, the whole like concept of the show was done like a month in advance. And we were working like half a year or something on this show. And in the end, you're just entering the space, preparing the walls, hanging the work, that's it. So it's all kind of done in secret. What we're doing here is, I mean, the term site-specific is like also misused a lot because like people putting whatever in a space and say, oh, it's site-specific. What we understand from site-specific is you enter a space, you work with a space when you are in there. So we're taking videos in the old tunnels in the very back where no one is allowed to enter before the building up starts. So we have videos in here like showing the back rooms that are not used or as they were before they were used. And we're installing the piece you were just talking about when you enter the room.
Just make the space then again visible. You're entering this black room and then you can see, wow, this is really great. So we actually make really a cut between the normal world and the entering of the space, that you can see the space because that's site specific. So the difference is basically if you work in a space like this, that you actually make the space visible and the other art visible.
So was there a particular moment in your journey as artists where you felt like you'd really arrived on the art scene, crossed that threshold?
The thing is, a good thing was that we actually, when we did our show in university, our degree show, we actually came to London and asked people here how you should promote yourself. So we were quite clear about that we have to do something, that we can't just show like everybody else, that you somehow have to promote yourself. And I think that was coming definitely from the whole impression from the young British artist, what happened here. And then we did this. We actually promoted ourselves and were quite successful.
Did having Charles Saatchi buy your work have a knock-on influence in other sales and in the resale market?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
You can't possibly like follow the way what's happening because of what. You can't. Because you never know what people talk behind your back and what people also positively talk behind your back because you're not present all the time. But I think that one major thing that, of course, Charles Saatchi bought a big diptych and then the Deutsche Bank collection was like buying our work was kind of an interesting statement of, yeah, you are fancy, but you're also a very serious artist. So things like this obviously build your reputation. But on the other hand, I have to say it's not all. The main, as you were referring to young artists possibly listening to this, the main thing is you have to show your work and you have to be able to like stand behind it.
Well, thank you very much for spending some time with me.
Thank you.
And for being part of this show. See you very soon. Thank you. Thanks. Cheers.
Well, that's pretty much it from me now, down here at the Old Vic Tunnels. Bedlam is open for the next 2 weeks. It's free to get in. Go to our social media channels, the Old Vic Tunnels on Twitter. Ustream have been a great partner and have helped us put this live video link up through Facebook and through other channels. And I'm sad to see it come to an end. As a little teaser, we're going to leave you with some images that we filmed of the show earlier today. I hope you like them, and I hope you come down and see this space at some other point in time. All the best.